Hello everyone and welcome to the series on annotated first aid. So today we'll be discussing about rheumatic fever. So basically what is rheumatic fever? It is a inflammatory and autoimmune heart condition which basically follows a pharyngeal infection caused by group A beta hemolytic streptococci. This is commonly found in the first time it is found in the first lesion which occurs, that is found in children aged between 5 to 15 years. Now what basically happens is, after the pharyngeal infection takes place because of group A beta hemolytic streptococci, what might happen is there might be heavy production of antibodies against the M protein antigen of the beta hemolytic streptococci. Okay, so basically because of which what will happen is these antibodies will cross react with self antigens, that is the host antigens, and which is most often the myosin. This is known as molecular mimicry. What does it mean is that there is a protein, M protein, on the bacteria which is beta hemolytic streptococci. Against this, my body will produce certain antibodies. Okay, now the M protein of this bacteria actually resembles the myosin within my body. So what will happen? The antibody can react to this M protein also and this myosin also. So when this antibody basically is reacting to myosin, then what will happen is there will be certain inflammatory changes in the heart, which is basically known as rheumatic fever. Okay, so first of all, this is a type 2 hypersensitivity which we should note, and what we just now explained was known as molecular mimicry. Okay, so what will basically happen is 2 to 3 weeks after the pharyngitis has take place, what will happen is the immune response will be generated. So within 2 to 3 weeks, what will happen after 2 to 3 weeks, this generated immune response will be towards its maximum. So what will happen is first it will generate CD4 plus T cells, which will then generate the antibodies. So now what will happen is, one thing the antibody can do is the molecular mimicry part which we told. The other thing it can do is to activate the complement system, and it can also recruit the FC receptor mediated cells which are the macrophages and neutrophils. Also what will happen is this CD4 plus T lymphocyte which is activated will generate certain cytokines that can also recruit macrophages. Now why are we stressing so much upon macrophages? Because what we'll see in the histopathological image of acute rheumatic heart fever basically is, when we take the cardiac biopsy or in autopsy, usually not in autopsy do we see, usually see it in biopsy. So what will happen is, when we do a histopathological staining, we see a characteristic feature which is known as Ashkoff bodies. So this is basically what is the Ashkoff body. See, this is the entire thing is this Ashkoff body. Okay, so now what is basically this Ashkoff body? Ashkoff body is nothing but a granuloma with giant cells. So how we had learned giant cells in sarcoidosis and tuberculosis, similarly in rheumatic fever also we have giant cells which is known as Anichkov cells. What are these cells? These are basically nothing but enlarged macrophages which we talked about right over here. So these macrophages are basically called as Anichkov cells, which coalesce together to form Ashkoff bodies. Ashkoff bodies is not just made up of these cells, but it is also made up of lymphocytes, and there is also fibrinoid necrosis seen. As we remember, in tuberculosis granuloma it was caseous necrosis. In sarcoidosis I think there was no necrosis as such, but over here in rheumatic fever we have fibrinoid necrosis. So basically the Ashkoff bodies, it will consist of Ashkoff giant cells, Anichkov cells, lymphocytes and fibrinoid necrosis, and this Ashkoff body will be seen in all three layers of my heart, that is the endocardium, the myocardium as well as the epicardium. Okay, so this is what we have talked about. These cells, the Anichkov cells, are also known as caterpillar cells. Why are they called so? Because the chromatin material in these cells are arranged such that it gives an ovoid, wavy and rod-like appearance to the nucleus, similar to a caterpillar, as you can see over here. Okay, so Now we'll come to what would we basically see in rheumatic heart diseases. Rheumatic heart disease primarily will affect the heart valves, most commonly the high pressure valve. So the most high pressure valve is the mitral valve. So it most commonly affects the mitral valve, followed by the aortic valve, and followed by the tricuspid valve. What changes does it do in the mitral, aortic or tricuspid valve? Initially there will be a regurgitant phase, followed by a late and predominated stenotic phase. Okay, so first of all, what primarily happens with the heart valve is the leaflet, basically जो भी mitral valve, aortic valve and tricuspid valves leaflet will get thickened, and also there will be commissural fusion. As you can see over here, the commissure of the valve leaflet is fused. There will be commissural fusion, followed by shortening and thickening and fusion of the tendinous cord. Okay, as well as we can also see some subendocardial lesions in the left atrium known as McCollum plaques. This is also something important, which is exaggerated. These are basically thickened, irregular thickenings in the subendocardial of the left atrium. These are exacerbated by regurgitant jets. Basically there is early valvular regurgitation, right? So basically when the mitral valve is affected in the left atrium, because of this regurgitation, what will have, there will be some irregular thickening in the subendocardial portion, which we call as McCollum plaques. Okay, now microscopically, as we saw, there will be Ashkoff bodies. Also, valves will show organization of acute inflammation with post-inflammatory neovascularization and transmural fibrosis, which will eventually obliterate the leaflet structure, which is basically causing late valvular stenosis. Now, this stenosis is typically called the fish mouth stenosis. Why is it called so? Because the calcification and the fibrous bridging which will take place because of this inflammatory condition will basically cause a fish mouth like appearance across the valvular commissures. So, there is fish mouth stenosis in acute rheumatic heart fever. Now, I think we have discussed all of this. Here you can also see there will be fibrinoid necrosis of the cusps, and the vegetations which are found on these necrosis are known as verrucae. Over here there is fibrinoid, there is early infection followed by another layer of thrombi or vegetations which is formed. This is your verrucae. Now coming on to, now you think that if the mitral valve is getting affected, what will happen? The blood will start backing, because mitral valve is getting stenosed and also early regurgitation is there. So what will happen is the blood will start backing up in the left atrium, because of which what will happen, the left atrium will dilate. Now because of this, what will happen, there is a predisposition of mural thrombi, which is basically a thrombi along the walls of the heart. The mural thrombi is predisposed in the left atrium. This will also lead to eventually backing up of blood and other vascular changes in the lungs. So there will be long-term pulmonary changes. Now, if my left atrium was getting affected, lungs is getting affected. Now you only see if the lungs is getting affected, eventually my right ventricle will get affected. And since the blood was keeping on backing up, the right ventricle also blood will back up, and it will lead to right ventricular hypertrophy. Okay, so we have talked all about this. Now we should come to something which is very, very important for the acute rheumatic heart fever, that is the Jones criteria. Basically, Jones criteria is a major criteria which we use in diagnosis of rheumatic heart fever. So Jones, as you can see, here is the mnemonic J, heart depicting O, N, E and S. So J is joint involvement, which is migratory polyarthritis. What is migratory polyarthritis? Is there is swelling and inflammation of large joints which basically keeps on moving. What does keeps on moving means? Suppose one day the child is having pain in the right knee, the other day the child may be having pain in his left elbow. So this is basically known as migratory polyarthritis. Now heart will depict carditis, which is basically nothing but pancarditis. This will eventually cause pericardial friction rubs, tachycardia and arrhythmias. Now N stands for nodules in the skin, which are basically subcutaneous nodules, right? And these are usually present on the extensor surface. From E, there is erythema marginatum, which is basically a concentric rash with a ring margin, as you can see over here. This is erythema marginatum. Next, from S we have Sydenham chorea. Chorea, as you know, is an irregular involuntary movement. So Sydenham chorea is nothing but involuntary irregular movement of the limbs and face. So this is what we have talked about Jones criteria. Now you can see a diagram over here that in rheumatic heart disease, along the line of closure of the valve leaflets, there is nothing but small warty vegetations, as we saw over here also. Okay, now so we have studied all about rheumatic heart fever. Also, one thing which I would like to mention over here is the Ashkoff bodies which we talked about are a feature of acute rheumatic heart disease. A for Ashkoff, A for acute. It is not very frequently seen in chronic. That's why I also said that in autopsy it's less common, because I'm just, mostly autopsy is of like elderly individuals, so that is basically more of a chronic condition. So Ashkoff bodies will not be that prominent over there. Now, what is the treatment or prophylaxis? Is basically we can give the patient penicillin if the patient if the patient is basically allergic to penicillin. What else can we give? If the patient is allergic to penicillin, if the patient is allergic to penicillin, we can also administer clarithromycin or azithromycin, which is an alternative treatment. Penicillin is given IV, which you must remember. And yes, that's all about rheumatic heart fever. Summing it up in a few clinical points is, you should remember alpha beta hemolytic streptococci, group A beta hemolytic streptococci. The age group for primary lesion is 5 to 15 years. It involves heart valves, most commonly the mitral valve, early regurgitation, late stenosis. Stenosis is the fish mouth stenosis. There is something known as McCollum plaques. There are Ashkoff bodies, which is seen in acute stage. It is a type 2 hypersensitivity reaction where we can see molecular mimicry, and there is also something known as Anichkov cells, which are basically caterpillar cells, and the major criteria to detect it is Jones criteria. I hope you all understood rheumatic heart fever and liked it.